And also I mentioned Serge Bourgeois, who's now the technical director of Dieppe Minor Hockey, Dieppe Memorial Minor Hockey, and also Dave Kennedy, who also has been with the Atlantic Hockey Group for, what, how many years? 6 years now. Dave also coaches, or just finished his second season with the Titan, fourth season with the Titan Batters. So we are fortunate today because we're gonna give you some tickets that you can put your name in a draw to win his Memorial Cup ring. So we're gonna draw that at the end.
It has my name on it. I don't know what you guys are gonna do with it.
The reason I mentioned that is that Dave and I have many chances to talk at the office, and Dave went from winning the Memorial Cup last year, and not just any Memorial Cup, the 100th Memorial Cup, and his goalie had a shutout in the finals, to this year winning how many games?
I don't know, just a gun.
To winning eight games. So we're going to have some subjects today that talk about the highs and lows of hockey and coaching when you're winning, coaching when you're losing. It's not the same thing, trust me. It's a whole lot different. I kept saying to Dave, you know, the same scenarios when you were winning were different than when you were losing. They were different, but they were the same situation. Being disciplined, being whatever. So, but you know what? Good learning opportunity for Dave and all the coaches and the players, and you know, especially if you want to get better as a coach, because when the tough gets going, I find that's where the real coaches come out, right? And there's only one winner every year. Doesn't matter what league you're in. There's not 2, not 3, not 5. There's only one. So that means there's whatever 8, 9, 10, 12 losers. But does that mean you had a losing season, right? And I think you can still have success even if you didn't win it all. And so it's trying to find ways and stuff. So I will let Dave start, then we'll get Serge to do his presentation. Serge will talk a little bit on skills, and we'll talk about, I'll talk about things that are not X and O's. Okay? So I'll give you Dave Kennedy.
Hey guys, welcome again. I think every year, some of you are familiar faces. If you have questions, vous avez des questions en français, laissez-moi savoir. Je parle les deux langues. Je vais faire tout en anglais ce soir. I'm going to do it all in English tonight. Okay, every year me and Roland, okay, what are we going to do this year? It gets blah. I go to the Hockey Canada stuff, I'm like, ugh, fall asleep. Something a little bit more, I think with the goalies, and Roland said the highs and lows, I'm like part-time psychologist at this point, okay? I think I told Steve McVituri in my exit meetings, I said, I think the biggest challenge for me this year was keeping my 2 goalies motivated. I had a guy who went 0-28 this year, didn't win a game. Went to the Toronto Maple Leafs NHL camp, okay, thinking he's on cloud 9, coming from a school in Florida to not winning a game in a league he dreamed of playing. How do I keep that guy motivated? That was my challenge this year. It wasn't technical stuff, that comes easy. The grind is the guy's like looking at you and he's depressed. So what I want to do with my presentation, I made Mario Pouliot last year watch a video. I made John DeCourcy of the Midget AAA Flyers watch a video. I tried to get Mario Durocher, who's a little bit old school guy, to watch it. Didn't watch it, okay? Told me, no, doesn't care about that. It's good. He's got way more wins than anybody in this room, so I'll respect that. And so tonight, it's going to be a little bit of video, and then we'll talk, but you're going to see that it's going to help out for Serge's presentation and Roland's and yourself. A little bit on me. I think I've coached everywhere. Fortunate to start at 15. I think that's where you learn. I coached with Charlie and Adam AA team to start off, Pee Wee AA, Pee Wee AAA. I did Bantam AAA Dieppe, then I crossed over, and I'm a Hawk now. I did high school hockey in the mornings. I practiced at Moncton High at 7 in the morning at the K. I've been with the Moncton Flyers for the last 2 years. Junior A was my first junior. I think when Brandon Tebow got cut from the Wildcats, went over there. We needed just somebody. I said, hey, I'll watch your games. That's how I got started. With the junior ranks, it looks good on a resume that you're junior A. Universities, my 6th season finished with the Aglabril University of Moncton on the female side. And I just completed my 4th year with Bathurst. I'm not going back, okay? The travel they want more out of you. That road just keeps getting worse, more snowstorms, so I have decided that we'll pass on to something else, but great experience. So what I wanted to talk about, you're going to see this video, it's at Hockey USA, okay? They're webinars, they've stopped doing them, but they're great. Even my mentor, Louis Gay, is always like, oh no, I keep going to watch. He goes back and watches them, okay? So it's a little bit just understanding what the goalie in 2019, what we're dealing with. And I know there's some coaches in here that are coaching at pretty high levels and know that it has changed a little bit. So I'm going to be going through windows here.
Line of Olympic goalies. And today Dr. Tiffany Jones joins us.
Not gonna stay
She's
this boring
consulted with many different athletes, from soccer players to golfers to hockey players. She spoke at our coach education program a number of times. She's worked with entire teams and individual athletes alike. And because our position is often looked at as an individual sport inside a team game, her expertise is excellent for us in the goalie world. And she's, in one sentence, the first time I met her, changed the way that I approach speaking to goalies. So,
John DeCourcy told me the same line. So, holy shit, Dave. It's changed the way I'm going to talk to my goalies. Mario Pouliot, same thing. Oh, I don't want to sit that home. Because he said it, it's an individual position on a team sport. Okay, just the goalies. What do you tell that guy? And what I told Roland, I said, well, how do I help you guys? Okay, you're not major junior coaches. How do I help you guys in the future? So at the end of my presentation, I'll have frequently asked questions, and they're the classics. Our goalie let in a bad goal. I have one goalie better than the other. When do I pull my goalie? What do I say to my goalie before a game? What do I say after? We're going to have a little discussion afterwards. You're going to have plenty of ideas, and you're going to be exactly how to talk to your goalie after a game.
I know that everyone's going to really enjoy all of her insights, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Tiff.
Thank you, Phil. I'm really excited to talk about this. As Phil just said, the goaltending position is basically an individual sport and a team sport. I think a lot of us will say you have to be, Phil and I talked about this, we say about goaltenders or goalkeepers all the time that they're weird, and we want to be careful with weird unless you mean like weird, meaning they have guts and strength and all these other kinds of attributes that maybe our field or ice players don't have, because you're in that net and you are just getting pounded with goals. And I always say there's got to be a little something, a quirkiness about you to want to be a goaltender, but I mean that with all the positives, that not everyone is able to do it. Not everyone has the internal and mental fortitude to be a goaltender or a goalkeeper in sports. And so we can say that they're a little quirky, but make sure that you define what that means, because we don't want our the other folks or other teammates thinking that they're weird in a negative way. I'm not getting in that. That's all I know. So.
I think it's a valid point. Now, not everybody's a goalie, but everybody's allowed to be a goalie. Okay, I do enough goalie clinics in minor hockey to know that there's some kids that I'm going, probably shouldn't be a goalie, but he wants to be a goalie. Okay, and some of you guys are doing our prospects here too. You got one of those guys probably. Okay, probably shouldn't be, but you know, he wants to be a goalie. He loves the position. He lets 8 goals in a game. Okay, so that's important to know. And there's not much, but this will give you a way to help you out. So as we go through the parts, and I know my presentation is half video, and then I go back to this to show you a photo. The next thing that they're going to talk is the mind-body connection. This was huge for me, and when I talked to Mario Durocher, I got in heated arguments this year just because at Christmas time it was an old school coach, right? Guy coached 25 years, and I remember one discussion we had one day, it was like, I got to treat Tyreek different than Mark Gramabauer, who's played 6 years in the league. Well, no, they're all the same. It's the same thing. And Durocher was just, it's that old school, which is all right. It worked. The guy's got 3 Presidents Cup, okay? It clearly worked. But I just think that the game has changed. Knowing that I'm a little bit younger, it has changed for me too, just on the mental side.
I'm hopefully going to give you some of those tools so we can start implementing this in our youth right away. This is just a quote, just to summarize that basically kids haven't changed. And I'm actually going to tell you that kids have changed a little bit, but we do demand less of our kids. We expect less of our kids. We make their lives a little easier. This is in and, on the ice, off the ice. And we'll tackle some of those concepts throughout the entire presentation. So what's really going on? So I love this. This is a Canadian team that just won a championship, and this is for real. This is not a joke. Every one of them is on their cell phone.
We won the
so
Memorial
everyone
Cup.
wants to say, is it parenting, is it technology, what is going on? And I guess it's a little bit of both, but to give the parents a little bit of a slack, I'm going to go with technology more so than anything else. Adolescents are on their devices 6 to 8 hours a day. I should clarify that it's actually on their phones 6 to 8 hours a day, and they're on their devices 10 to 13 hours a day. This leads to higher levels of depression and anxiety because they're very isolated and they're just in this. Look at this. They're not interacting with their teammates. They're either on their phone texting or actually on the phone talking to someone. This also has them struggle with delayed gratification. Most student athletes or ice hockey players, including our goaltenders, don't know what delayed gratification is. They don't know what a card catalog is. They don't have to go through all the steps it used to take to go find a book in the library. So if you think about those steps, they no longer have to do it. In fact, they just have to type in their phones and they're going to get instant information. They struggle with eye contact and authentic relationships. And so if you're a coach, how this might impact you is they struggle receiving information from you and then applying it into practice, or making eye contact or asking questions of you. And the biggie with this, and this is what's the shocker for everybody, is that their prefrontal cortex is delayed up to 6 years. So this is their decision-making ability. And so when you're coaching an 18 to 22-year-old, you're actually really coaching 12 to 16-year-olds.
Is that right, Fred? Kind of.
It makes sense.
You know, I see it, and I'll give you what I tell Roland. I see it in the rural city kid. Okay, I go do my clinics in New Glasgow. One kid's like, man, I just shot 300 pucks in my garage. The other guy's like, I played on my iPad for 3 hours. Well, I know which kid is a lot more mature and able to understand than the other guy. And I'm seeing it. Okay, I work with enough goalies to be able to tell you it's true. I look at the guys that are graduating major junior, and like I look at Daniel Moody, a guy from a small community, a lot of driving, not in the city. I'm not seeing the city goalies like actually perform too much. A lot of them are babied, but once again, we're going to keep going through this.
So
this is the best
imagine
presentation
this,
I've seen.
and again, this is because the brain chemistry has changed. Our brain is a muscle. It's considered a muscle like anything else, and it's basically atrophied because they don't have to do the type of work we used to have to do without cell phones. And I want to make it clear, coaches, parents, other student athletes or athletes, ice hockey players, goaltenders that are maybe older, this would impact us in the same way had we grown up with these devices. So this doesn't make us better or less than. I'm just explaining it so we can understand it, so we can adapt to it. So how does this impact goaltending or on-ice performance? Typically, there's a lack of self-assessment. Among our goaltenders, they look to you to know if they're playing.
Right, I have it in my younger ones. My female hockey, I find a lot that they think that's just the female that asks a lot of questions, but it's a lot like, am I doing all right? Oh, geez, you didn't let in a goal in that drill. Well, they want, but I get it with Tyreek. My 18-year-old I had in Bathurst was a lot of like, is this okay? I'm not sure. It's all right, and that's the generation. Yep.
So how's the use of video helping them with that?
How's the use of video? What do you mean?
Because I think kids nowadays,
Yeah.
you just reflected on it, all the way they're receiving information is electronically. So is the use of video helping you in some of these anxieties about their self-assessment?
Not really.
They're doing it right. Look here.
Yeah, we're gonna go through. It's gonna give you all that stuff. It's a lot. I've been doing it without kind of. I think because I'm a younger guy and going through the last 15 years at different levels and working with Adam, and then I go work major junior. The thing is, Roland said, I didn't really have a bad season. My midget AAA team is doing pretty good. So the trick is, coach like 3 teams, you're bound to have one. So,
But you do a lot of video with it.
no, yeah, I agree, and that'll be more at the end. You guys are gonna see we're gonna have more questions like that, and I'll reserve you guys the time for the questions. I'm gonna like blurt in if I see something, but I know they're really gonna give you all the tools. Like it's about a half an hour here. It goes full circle, so it will answer that, and I'll be able to put on after, but reflecting on what we've seen. So.
Well, or if they did something right, rather than being able to self-assess themselves, they become very robotic. And no offense, coaches, this is partly to how we're coaching them. They are, we give them the steps, and we don't allow for necessarily failure or mistakes or figuring it out on their own. We're very quick to jump in and just tell them the answer or coach them, rather than having guided discovery and having them come up with their own answers to why maybe they made a mistake or how to fix it next time. They have poor decision making, and again, that's due to the prefrontal cortex in a lot of cases. They struggle with failure, and again, coaches, is partly on us, is because we say it's okay to make mistakes and take risks, but then our body language or what we say back when they do fail does not match us telling them it's okay to fail.
Right, we beat St. John 10-1 the first game. I come in Roland's office, I'm gloating about us winning 10-1. We go to St. John, my goalie gets pulled after 11 shots, he let 4 goals in. And I did a practice on Sunday morning. I told John, I was like, oh my, he's gonna stand on his head. I said he stopped every puck on Sunday, he was unreal. And he lets 4 goals in, okay? And I'm going to check out, don't worry about it, okay? Shit happens, you're gonna be all right. But I'm pissed off inside, okay? And he ain't stupid. He's like, okay, clearly he's disappointed. So sometimes we're like, no, it's all right. And then they see us all like, ah. So I think it goes into the player coaches too, not only the goalies, but goalies are a little bit, because we're alone, it's kind of like, okay, we're looking for any of these things.
And then they have adapting to different scenarios on the ice, or their flexibility of thought is also poor. And again, that's due to the chemicals in our brain changing. So what does this mean for coaches or goaltenders? It means that you can't just necessarily go in and start coaching just goaltending skills. We have to help them in these areas with just basic life skill kind of things before we can really help them reach their excellence in goaltending. They need to work on decision making, and we need to help our goaltenders personally assess their own performance, or in practices or in games. We need to have them have some sort of accountability. We need to help them apply information. So giving them information, and how do they apply that, and then how do they apply that same information when they're under pressure. Communication with their teammates, with you as a coach. Remember, communication is going to be a struggle for them because they're always on their devices, and there's a difference between communication and conversation. Our athletes are communicating, our goaltenders are communicating with others all throughout the day. Communication is just on our devices and it's relaying information, but having conversation is having the device put down and interacting with another human being, reading their body language, understanding their emotions and what their energy level is. We need to teach them how to fail on and off the ice, and we have to help them with their negative thoughts and self-doubt. This generation, especially our goaltenders, because of the nature of the position, are flooded with negative thoughts and self-doubt.
I went through it. We traded a goalie at Christmas time last year that could not get out of his negative thoughts, okay? And he quit this year. He played against Fred this year in his league. I was lucky to get AUS at that point. I think he's all right. He's back home now. I've talked to him. He's a little bit better. But he had problems. He was there for 4 years. We were losing a lot. And it was like what else do they want? And at our levels, there's a little bit more pressure. But the guy couldn't figure it out, and I'm looking at it. I never played Major Junior. I'm going, man, I would just dream to play 2 minutes in your shoes, right? But they don't realize, okay, well, geez, I'm fortunate enough. Like I said it last night in the Flyers room when it was 1-1 in between the periods. I said, boys, like you're gonna miss this feeling to be able to compete in a 1-1 hockey game. Like I can't do it right now. I'm like sweating from everywhere. I just want to get out there, and that's what you have to drive for. And the guys went into it, but we have to explain them that they need to be pumped up to play that game.
That's a fun.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one. You have to. Oh, I thought I would put it on mute. But we have to explain them. It's like I really had to tell them. I tell Roland sometimes I have to tell goalies that you have to stop the puck. Like they're there and it's just, but that's what you have to do. But they're very robotic, okay? And if we have to tell them, I know it gets like telling somebody, reminding them all the time. But if you find the right way, and she'll keep giving us a couple of tips.
And we'll talk more about those types of things. When we talk about psychological development, here are all the different types of the psychological skills or mental skills. You can just skim through that. The biggies that I always hear is I need my players to be more mentally tough. I need them to overcome failure and adversity. I need them to deal with emotional turmoil or leave whatever's going on in their life off the ice. They need to manage pressure. How about consistency? They're great in practice, but then they're terrible in games. What is going on? So these are some of the biggies that can be developed. Mental skills are like any other skill development. It takes time. It takes consistency of practice, and that is going to be largely in part of the coaches, especially early in their careers. We are responsible for helping them in this area and holding them to standards and holding them accountable. So for those,
I think for some guys, like, and we wrote a couple articles, I keep going back to Daniel Moody, I've known him all my life. This was the first year he faced adversity at 18 in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, okay? He started in Drummondville, and they were like, we're going to trade you. And then he was like, I'm going to end up playing junior league. No, he finally found a place in Chicoutimi, goes there. But at 18 years old, it was the first time he had ever been like adversity. He had made Hockey Canada, all this stuff. So for him, he's like, and I remember he came and worked some of the M clinics down here. We brought him to Bucktouche, and he was crying. He was like, Dave, man, I don't know what, I've never been in this position before in my life. And I'm going, geez. Like, this guy I thought was like my meal ticket. I said, this guy can make it to the NHL. And here we are, he's falling into the same steps that I've seen with my other goalie that I had, Major Junior. But we just kept saying, hey, believe in the process, believe in yourself. You know, life has a way of working itself out. He was good because he's a good person, and it worked out for him. But failing at 18, imagine, that's the first time. I don't know if there's some guys that played high-level hockey. I was a double A guy, so I failed every year and then like made something. I was like, yeah. But you know, there's some of you here that maybe it was later in life and it was like, holy moly, that only happened at that time, and we don't realize that some of our top players in our communities have never failed. It might only happen when they get cut World Juniors, right? Like, it's a reality, and it's tough. That's why you see guys maybe at 19, 18, geez, well, why did they just lose it? We had a guy in Bathurst that just lost it, okay? He had 30 goals as a 16-year-old, and he's 18, and he had 6 goals this year. So it happens. Why? He's facing adversity. First time in his life, he was a hero all the time. I don't need to name names, but it's the first time he's going through it. He's having a tough time. And at 18, what do they resort to? The bottle. So, and it's the truth. But with you guys, I think if we can prepare them, and we're going to keep going here, it's going to give you a little bit of a
those of you who might not believe in the mind-body connection, I'm going to give just a bit.
And I told Durocher this, the old, what do you call the mullet in French? Le coq argenté, sorry. That's his nickname. I told him this story, and he said, kind of after he went, didn't really get a reaction out of him. But I find this one just
a little bit of an example, because some people are like, well, I think the mind, I think psychology has a bit to it. But really, it has to do with the physical and the genetics and all of that kind of stuff. So I've thrown this lovely
no, he's just a talented athlete. His mind doesn't matter.
Spider up on your screen. Very hairy spider. I want you to think if you threw this down in front of a bunch of goaltenders that you've worked with in the past.
4 players.
Phil's shaking his head, so I already know where Phil's going. Phil is running, and he's jumping over the net, and he's throwing everybody to the ground that gets in his way. So sometimes I'll throw the spider down, and some of us are going to do what Phil does and who are scared and don't want to have anything to do with it. And so his physiological response is my cortisol level is off the charts, which is our stress hormone, and I am in fight or flight, and I am running for the hills. I could throw the spider down, and some of your goaltenders are going to be like, ooh, a pet. I want to pet it, and I want to keep it as a pet. And so their physiological response is different than Phil's. They're actually going to have an increase in endorphins and serotonin, which is like the pleasure kind of thing. They might get excited, adrenaline, and it's not the adrenaline, I want to escape. It's the adrenaline like, ooh, fluffy bunny. Like, this is great. Like, a nice spider. And then some of our goaltenders are going to say, it's just a spider. Like, there's no response. Because to them, it's not pleasurable and it's not scary. It's just something that has legs and has hair on it, and there's no response. And so what this means is, first of all, when you're dealing with goaltenders, especially after they have the basic skills, goaltending begins with thinking and thought.
Big time, okay? I've said in my presentations every other year, every goalie coach, visualization, your pregame prep. I tell my goalies, make 30 saves in your head. It's thinking and thoughts. Last night after I think, was it before the game or after the first? The way the Flyers room is, I have both goalies, and there's a player sitting between. I was in the corner, and I looked at my goalie was starting, Mathias, and I went, are you good? He went, yeah. I asked Jacob, I said, is he a good goalie? Yeah. Are you a good goalie, Mathias? Yeah. Yeah. Are you really good? Yeah. Yeah. Jeez, he had 32 saves last night, okay? Motivate him. I always like a goalie in confidence, and I see like coaches trying to destroy, oh, it's his fault. Oh, another bad game. man, I want this guy to be like thinking he is the best goalie in the world and he can stop any beach ball. Because if he starts doubting himself, that's when it gets pea-sized and geez, how'd that go in? I need him in confidence. So it's all mental.
Period, the end. Because our thinking and our thoughts is what's going to dictate our physiology. That's what impacts our physiology, is our perception or how we think about something. And so it has to start up here first. Then it impacts our physiology. And then our physiology and our thoughts impact our behavior and performance. So a lot of times we're watching a goalie or goaltenders and we're like, oh my gosh, why did they just do that? Or how did they respond? I'm always like, well, ask them. What are you thinking right there? What are you thinking? And then I might say, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And I don't want you to allow them to say, I don't know. Because I always say, well, you better know, because if you don't know, how am I going to help you, or how are we going to make the correction?
And it goes even at the pro levels. Like Evan Fitzpatrick, I'm still really close with him, and he'll go, did you ask the development guy, did you ask the Blues development guy, like, what do you need to work on? He says I should know. Because he wants you to know. Like, the kid needs it. And I did it with my midget AAAs this year, and I asked at the start of the year, Matthias and Jacob, what do you guys want to work on? Chabot. Well, geez, you don't know yourself. So even with your small goalies, get them to figure out, and it's not saying you're bad at your glove. Don't motivate him to get better on his glove, right? Geez, we can get better at this, right?
Please be careful as a coach or as a parent to tell your child or tell a goaltender what they must be thinking. And then, because a lot of times they're going to just want you to stop talking. So they're like, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or, yeah, that's how I was feeling. So a lot of this is I'm going to go up and I'm not going to be like, what were you thinking? That's not what I mean by asking them what they were thinking or feeling. You literally want to go up to them, what were you thinking right there? And this is part of that process. But for those of you who don't believe about the mind-body connection, I also usually throw out biofeedback, but I'm not going to do that right now to prove it. But just think about the spider example and how would you, like, if you don't think something, you're not going to have a physiological response. That's not how this works. So when we look at this is why practice is so important and how we set up practices for our athletes. And our goaltenders especially, because it is an individual sport. I want you to think of it as golfers. So when I work with a goaltender, it's just how I work with my golfers, or I work with swimmers, or I work with track and field athletes or fencers. It's very much an individual sport. And so here we are trying to develop a skill with our soccer player, and they're like, I don't get it. Every practice we dribble around these cones, but we never play against cones in games. So I see this all the time in practices where the poor goaltenders are like, well, I'm really good in practice, and then into a game, all things just change. And so I'm always like, well, tell me about your practices. And a lot of times, it's just very robotic. It's very controlled. We're looking for perfection as coaches. I want to see a mess. Set up a drill so our poor goaltenders fail.
She's not a goalie coach, remember that? She's just a psychologist. But I'll tell my goal, like, I'll get kids that are like so desperate to make a save in practice, but they dove across and did all kinds. I tell Tyreek all the time, because he was like, we had to try to control him. Like the last game we played against the Wildcats, anybody who was there, he was all over the place. My whole goal with him the whole year was get him to be on his feet more and stop going all over the place. So I would tell him, I don't care if the puck goes in, man. Have I ever yelled at you because the puck goes in? I'm trying to look at the big package here. That's what I want. Okay, we're getting faster. Next time we're going to get it. Your T-push is a lot faster. Your recovery was better there. So not just focused on stop the puck, which is most of you just tell them, right? John just goes, just tell them to stop the puck, okay? So a little bit more than that. The guy's going to look at you and go, and Serge too.
All the time, because it's not about the failure. It's about the response to the failure. It's about if they make a mistake, if they make another one back to back, is it a different mistake? Because then at least I know they're trying to adapt and that they're thinking.
I think that's important for you guys as coaches and players
about
too.
Your practices and how are we setting up practices? As a coach, this is where your ego's got to take a back seat. It's not about how pretty your practices are or if your drill is successful. It's whether or not are we really putting our goaltenders in situations that.
I think are we getting players out of their comfort zone? Okay, same thing. Your practice, not doing the same thing. You know, one knock we hear about our midget flyers program, we do the same practice all the time. I don't do the same goalie practice all the time, that's my department, that's what I'm gonna take care of, okay? But it said, is it true? I don't know. Gardner McDougall just won his 8th thing, doing the same practice every year, so it's, you know,
that
maybe
they are
I'm wrong.
going to see in competition. And I find that the best coaches are the ones that are creative and they can set up different drills that are going to mimic what their goaltenders are struggling with under the heat of the moment. What are they going to see? It's not going to be pretty. It's throwing different.
We did St. John's power play. We had ice Wednesday. We did the power play. So when I go back to my guys, I go, guys, you're in confidence, man. We practiced the power play. You know this. They go in the net and they go, yeah, man, we practiced this. I know what's coming up. I don't know how we've been doing on the power play, so I won't tell you that on the PK, but we practiced it. It wasn't just a practice, we're gonna do blocker saves. No, we were gonna practice St. John's power play, but it was just for the goalies. I had 3 shooters out, and they do their backdoor player, they go behind the net and give them the slot. We got so comfortable that when it's gonna happen in a game, boom. But I put my guys in a comfortable zone, right? Same way you guys practice the PK, or as we go major junior, we do video, okay, this is how they set up, we're gonna, set up in consequence. You can do it for your goalies too. Maybe you guys go work on something and, okay, they always do backdoor on the power play. Well, in your practice, you put your 2 coaches down, we're just gonna do backdoors with my goalie all the time. Just for maybe 10 minutes. That he has something, then next game, before the game, you can go, remember we practiced the backdoor, you got this, right? Oh, geez, yeah, I'm in confidence, I remember how to do this, okay?
Different things on them. So being creative, like saying, hey, I'm going to give you 3 words and you have to remember those 3 words in order at the end of this drill. This is called brain endurance training. So it's getting them to have to cognitively think through something as they're physically trying to do something. So we see this a lot of, that is mental. Our goaltenders for what they're about to see. So understanding this mind-body connection a little bit, here's the 3 mentality zones, or this is going to be, when I explain all this, this is really mental toughness, all in a picture format. So there's kind of 3 mentality zones that any athlete has to learn how to manage. And this is really powerful stuff for our goaltenders because this is in their control.
Biggest thing with Mark Granbar we added this year was breathe. Breathe. He gets so tense. I remember watching him when he was with the Wildcats last. He gets so tense. He was deep in his net, and I was just like, man, that guy needs just to breathe. So, and I'd see it in games, and I think a game not too long. So the game he got first started Cape Breton a few weeks ago, and I'm sitting in front of my TV, and I'm that wacky that I'm telling him, go breathe, Mark, breathe. So I talked to him on Tuesday at the practice, and I'm like, Mark, I was yelling at my TV to breathe. He's like, yeah, man, I could hear you. I was just like, I was breathing too. So it's all mental. That's what Mark needed, just to calm down, okay? Needed a better D, but I can't do anything about that. So.
And goaltenders have very little that they can control, and this is something that I'm like, if we can teach this to them, and then empower them to come up with the hows, how to get in and out of each of these zones when they need to be, that is mental toughness. And so you'll see over here on the green is really when your mentality is, there's very, very little energy, there's no focus. You might hear your goaltenders.
We win 10-1 game 1, we lose 7-2 game 2. We were pretty chill in the room, game 2. Okay? Game 1, we were locked in. Holy shit, we're going to kill them. Okay? Last night, we were panicking at the start. Oh my God, we lost 7-2 to these guys the last game. It took us we scored, 5 goals in the 3rd period last night, where it was just, they finally, everybody just calmed down and got back into lock-in mode.
Talk about what they want to eat or what they're having for dinner, or they're thinking about, they're kind of apathetic. They're just going through the motions. I find that this is maybe a struggle for our youth athletes, but when you're really working with a high-level goaltender, very rarely am I dealing with it.
And I know coaching at every level, it was, don't talk about school here, right? You're going to go to school after. Don't bring yourself in the room before the game. They're just talking about the girls or whatever. And when I coach Bantam AAA, that's a pretty age where they start talking about the women. So it's trying to keep them in that mental state because they're going to need it in their jobs, right? I need my mental working for Atlantic Hockey Group, right? So It's you need it in life, not only to be a goalie.
If anything, you'll see we're dealing with red zone. But I will say that a lot of us are going to see green, and some of our youth athletes, maybe they're sick or they didn't get a lot of sleep or they had a bad day at school, and for them they're like, whatever, man, it's just practice. We're talking practice, right? And for me, if a goaltender is practicing in the green, I would pull them off the ice, because in the green zone is where we develop bad habits. And I'd rather have no habits than bad habits. At least if an athlete has no habits, it's easier to create good habits. But if they develop bad habits, those habits are going to be with them for the rest of their career. And all you do is you hope that you can create stronger good habits to override the bad habits. But bad habits are so difficult. So if you're a college coach, God love you, you got 18 to 22 years of bad habits. And if they don't want to really work on overriding their bad habit, the bad habit will always keep popping up. And so that's the danger of practicing in the green zone. Red zone is where we have panic, or it's frustration or negative thoughts. It's where you're pissed off. You a lot of times it's when the other team scores on your goaltender and they're like freaking out, or they think it's their fault and they're blaming themselves. What the red zone, I'd rather you be in the red zone than the green zone, because at least the red zone, I know you care. You're just caring in the wrong way. Or what we say is, I'm in my head. How many of you have goaltenders that will say, I'm in my head right now, I can't get out of my head? To me, that's an automatic red zone. They are in the red zone, okay? And that is not optimal for performance at all. Biomechanics start to change. You're going to see them, and you should be able, if you know your goaltender very well, you're going to see them start to tense up. They see stiff. They become very flat.
Scott Monroe, goalie coach of the Wildcats back in the day, told me the best one for the karate guys out there. I'm not much. Dion, are you a karate guy? You could beat the poop out of me, so I thought you would. Anyway, so he'd always say in karate, you gotta be loose, right? And goalies, and I said it to Jacob. I said, Jacob, he was in his head against St. John. Good goalie. He didn't let in a goal. I think on Sunday we had Fred's players shooting, like he was really good. But he'll get so tense, and he can't react. Well, if I'm fighting in karate, if I get tense, I can't punch, but if I'm loose, oh! So it's the same thing. If I'm loose, or I'm locked in, but if I'm in panic mode, I'm breathing, I'm not breathing right? Mark would get in panic mode at 5-on-3 there, okay? I made 3 saves, my D sucks, I know Ben Rue's not going to get it, okay? What do I do here? Okay? I use the name, whoops.
On the ice, they're not moving as well. They're not scanning the ice. So there's a lot of things you can see physically in their body language where it's going to show you, tell you every single time they're in the red zone. Blue zone, this is optimal for performance for all athletes, especially our goaltenders. This does not mean they're not making mistakes. It means that they're controlling the controllables. They're able to respond and adapt quickly. It means that they have high energy, laser locked in focus. But I want to inform you on this. The best goaltenders in the world struggle with the red zone. But the best goaltenders, like a Rooney, know when they are in the red zone, they're able to recognize it, they admit it, and they have hows. They have a whole bag of tricks that they can go to that where they are going to fight the red zone.
I'm a good goalie. No, I've already done this. This is where the next one is
fight
good.
it. I don't care how confident you are in the world. Every athlete deals with self-doubt and negative thoughts. Every athlete struggles with the red zone. And the ones that are the most consistent and the ones we would say are the most elite are the ones that know how to fight and are willing to fight to get out of the red zone to get to the blue zone. This is powerful stuff, gang, because one, this gives you a language as a coach with your goaltender to say, hey, red zone. And then if you do this correctly, and I'll show you the next slide in a little bit that's going to give you the chart to work on, they're going to have hows. Or you can help them develop their hows to get in the...
And she's going to give you, and I'll give you guys a link to this.
You and she or he.
She gives you a chart. I have not used it, but
if they're in the blue zone,
my 2 goalies were sent this link to watch the video. So tomorrow at practice, they will be quizzed, okay, on the red-blue. I need to do it. I need to find a solution with Jacob. He had a bad game. I guarantee you, before it started on Friday in St. John, the same thoughts are going to creep in his head. I was bad last night. I got to nip that in the butt. So before Roland gives me another dirty look here,
you have to admit, they're focused. Trust me, I'm focused. And I'm like, not willing to admit it because they don't think they're allowed to admit it. Because mental toughness we often see as suck it up and figure it out. Where really the very first step of mental toughness is to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. You have to let your goaltenders be vulnerable and allow and listen and let them tell you what they're thinking and feeling and what they're hearing and seeing. And that's not then to jump all over him or her. It's because they need a freedom to really tell you what the heck is going on inside so that they can learn to admit it and then come up with the hows.
Tyreek, okay, 2-on-1's coming down. Okay, well, yeah, but the D didn't pick up that guy. Well, okay, next time it comes, because our goalies didn't trust our D. We had a young D core, it was tough. Sometimes we want to play out more, and we couldn't because that guy wouldn't, even if the guy was covered, the guy was still going to get the puck, so we had to play deeper, but then we were giving that guy a chance to score more on the angle. So it was really a lot of mental stuff, but it was just do what you can. Control what you can, Ty, okay? Everybody can tell that D is not, if he's picking up the guy and he can't take up his stick, they're not going to yell at you, but the goalie's still like, I let that go, that's my fault. No, I'm going to go on that guy. So they have to admit it, but you have to tell them
Players just don't know, or they would do it. So when you're a coach and you yell, you guys have to focus. I need you to try harder. You need to stop the puck from going in the back of the net. Your goaltender's like, really, coach? That's what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, it's not good that there's a bunch of pucks in the back of the net? That's not what you want.
I guarantee you, even the 13-year-olds are thinking that in your head. You're the idiot. You want to tell them that? Like, duh, buddy, I know what's going on, okay? For any school teachers here, too.
So we are the masters of obvious. We say the dumbest things as coaches and parents. We really do. That do not help our goaltenders get out of the red zone and get into the blue. We just yell, like dumb things where they're looking at you, well, no crap, coach. No kidding, really? And so once we come up with the hows, we then have to help them just do it. And so before I help you with the hows, I want to show you a clip, a really awesome thing with Michaela Schifrin, where she basically talks about this fear, about what she thinks, feels, hears, and sees before she's about to go down the mountain. It's just about a 1.5-minute clip, and I think you'll enjoy it. And then we can start talking about the hows.
And I've used this one as an example with other guys. I'll just spin it and make on it's my own story, but it's not. Not that I'm an alpine skier, but
We are farmers. Okay, take me through the race, would you? You're at the start, right? You're about to take off. What's going through your mind?
At that point, I'm just trying to calm my mind, calm everything down and just breathe. Basically, 1.5 minutes before I actually start, the athlete in front of me has already gone. They've made their run, I'm just waiting for my turn, and I'm in the starting gate like, that's when thoughts start creeping in again. And it's really important to try to keep your mind quiet, but sometimes you can't. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I do this every day. You're fine. And then, no, I'm really gonna die. It looks steep. It looks icy. It looks scary. I'm like, honestly, you do this every day. Just calm down. And I have like the angel and the devil on my shoulders yelling at each other. And then the start ref says like 10 seconds. I'm like, shut up, you two. It's time to go. I don't care if you're gonna die or not. You're in this and you can't stop now.
You really have those conflicting thoughts, though?
Oh, yeah.
That close into race time.
Oh, yeah. You know, there are athletes who will say, like, I have no fear. Like, if, in order to race downhill, in order to win downhill, you can't have fear. I'm not scared of anything. I'm like, BS. I call BS. If you have no fear, you're insane. Like, I have fear, and I'm just trying to overcome it every day. I certainly don't want to get injured, but that's a part of the sport, and it's a risk you have to accept. There's a way to combat that fear, but I have it. I think it helps me. I think it gives me a certain amount of respect for the mountain, knowing that if you get in a fist fight with a mountain, you're not going to win.
One of my favorite 1.15 minutes you'll ever watch. I just want to also point out that if you haven't been watching the Olympics, Michaela won a gold. The very first race. It was a race that she wasn't supposed to win, or they didn't know how she was going to stack up, and she actually won gold. Then she went into her second race. Was the one that she was the shoe-in. That's what everyone kept saying. She was the automatic gold winner, which by
the last part, the photo makes a little bit language and words matter, okay? Probably 5 minutes here left. I don't think you get to the second photo if the guy doesn't realize that you care. And I know I shared some on my Facebook with the Summerside coach putting the same thing. It's you gotta care, okay? They're not stupid. The kids know if you give a shit or not, okay? And it's the same thing with my older goalies. It's to build a relationship. And I've heard the coach tell me, you're gonna be too much friends with him. It's gonna be two friends. I'm a goalie coach, okay? I got two guys to worry about. If I'm their friends, if I'm their guy they call, you know, when they're down, so be it, okay? I know with you guys, you can't have that same relationship with every player because they all have a physiological different response to that spider. But if you're gonna put them all in the same mold and yell at them all the same way, good luck, boys. So we'll show you the last part here. And we already did that.
Quickly, because I know we're coming up, maybe to have a couple questions, but just to wrap up, and I flew through some of this, and you'll have all these slides that you can go through, and you can always ask me follow-up questions. But your language and words matter as a coach. I love, this is what Phil, first thing I know, I was kind of rude, I just went up to Phil, I was like, Phil, this is the guy. This is the guy who trains some of the best goaltenders in our whole country, and I'm listening to him, and I'm like,
It says Phil, it's the guy in the
what
corner.
are you saying? And I hear this all the time, our goaltender let in 5 goals today. And I'm like, they did? They let in 5 goals. They went, olé! If your goaltender is letting in goals, they might not be a good goaltender for you because they're on the take for the other team. No one is letting anything in. The other team has scored 5 goals on us. Never even a goaltender has scored on me. Our team was scored on 5 times today. Or we were scored on 5 goals. It's not we let in 5 goals or else we have a whole different
Remember that,
that
I'll be
matters.
watching this
Those
spring.
semantics matter. Because when a goaltender says I let in 5 goals today, their head goes down. I see this whole like the air.
I'll say you didn't come up with that one.
They feel like
right?
they have let
Shit,
down
man,
the
you didn't
team,
come up
and
with that
I'm
one.
like,
That's all
oh
right.
geez, here
Okay,
we
this is
go.
what we have to do.
We have to be careful not to tell somebody you need to stop a shot. If I hear need or have to, that's red zone. That's automatic tension.
Because they're going to
Also
remember
going
that.
up to
Oh
a
my
goaltender
God.
and being like, what was
Si
wrong
je laisse
with
un
you
but dans les
today?
dernières 3 minutes, là, ils vont me tuer. No,
If there were goals scored on the team that day, I hear this all the time, what was wrong with you today, or what's wrong with you today, if like the puck is going in the back of the net, and that's going to close any athlete down.
Funny, John
especially a
DeCourcy watched this,
goaltender,
but I think he
when
told
they're
me
just
all
gonna
this
go
on
and they're
Friday,
like,
or
"Great,
the other
thanks,
night, we
coach."
lost 7-2.
You know?
What's wrong with him
Automatically
today?
we're assuming that they're letting the shots go in, or that they don't care, or they're not focused, and basically we're saying you're mentally weak because you can't figure it out. So we need to be careful with that. The other thing that this chart will help you develop as a coach for goaltenders is.
So, what I wanted you to get out of that, and all of this stuff is hockey. We'll put it in our coaches' little part we have on the website. I'll show you guys that at the end of the night. But Hockey USA, they have webinars for the goalie geeks here. I put them on. There's all kinds of them. So some of them are older, but like they're good stuff. Like where they have panels. They have one with that one's the Detroit Red Wings. Louis talks about this one, I think, every day of the week. Then they do one with Finland, how they're developing all their goalies. Sometimes just something like a podcast, you're working, you put it on the side, oh, okay, I'm intrigued there. I've had it on for 3 days now to get ready for this one. So now, after we've seen all that stuff, we got the first one, okay? We can't say our goalie let in a bad goal. Our goalie did not come up with a save, and I even like where she spinned it on more of a team thing, okay? What other ways could you tell you? What other ways, anybody? That you could say that your goalie let in a goal? I just said it. That your goalie did not come up with a save? Dion, what would you say? Sorry, you're the only goalie coach I can
Spot the
yeah, sorry. You're in my sight line too. After he lets in a bad goal, what do you say?
Just struggling to see the puck, maybe.
But what would you say to the goalie? I know, it's all right. Hey, I'm making you vulnerable, okay? Your answer's not wrong. You've gone too far, you gotta tell me. So whatever it is, and it can be wrong.
Just a tough game. It's just that's usually the approach. Hey, tough game, guys.
And we've said it, you didn't get a bounce that game. Bounces didn't go your way. We're trying to take it a little bit off them. I need to get this guy in confidence. Next game, he's gotta be ready to go. He can't be thinking on my last game. I have one goalie better than the other. Okay, spring hockey, we see it. Okay, I gave you guys a nice printout where I carefully highlighted in yellow. On the back, 2 goalies. That one you can write in the email when the parent of the other goalie writes you an email. Okay, you can copy and paste this stuff. There is a benefit sometimes of having 2 goalies on rotating between the roster. You guys can schedule it. Okay, you can say, okay, Johnny, you're going to get, and we did it with the Moncton Flyers this year. We rotated our goalies the whole year. Both of them are drafted in the queue. One guy thought he was going to get 90% of the games this year. No, you're not. Everybody's equals. But we managed a little bit of the starts. Okay, we had a final. Okay, we're going to play this game. You can manage it, but you're still giving him an equal time, and you're protecting the child too. We're not putting him in a situation. I'm going to put my weaker goalie against a top team. I'll go fail. Like there's nothing good going to come out of that, right? And I know sometimes, I told you, everybody thinks they can be a goalie, but not everybody's a good goalie. But I think if you play both of them and you can manage them, it shows the kid that you have confidence in both of them. Maybe give them a final, but maybe you can split the game in half, the final. Okay, maybe you have to split the semi too. It's just things like that. Give them an opportunity. I know it's tough, but we're in spring hockey, we're in development. Charlie's going to tell you, you're all going to get a medal anyway, okay? So there's no big winners. When do I pull my goalie? So you're down by a goal. This is almost Serge, you're down by a goal. When do you pull your goalie?
Because he's not good, or because...
No, I know. We're going to get in the... It's a 2-part question. I only used 1 line.
No, but it's the question, what he means is, the question is...
Yeah, no, you're down by a goal. You're losing by a goal.
Oh, okay.
When do you pull your goalie?
There's a lot of factors. Where's the face-off? What time? Where's power play?
Perfect. So I'm not going to answer that one. When do I pull my goalie? When he's let in, when he's not having a good game. So we did it after it was 4-0 St. John. On here they'll tell you a lot. Mario DeRoche was good. He'd only do it between periods. He didn't do it too much between games. And like we said, we had a year that like it'd be one game we'd be heroes and 50 saves, we still lose 6-0, or we let in 5 goals on 2 shots. Okay, but he would normally do it in between periods, which I found interesting. And when I was looking at my documents, that's what they kind of tell you, and I think it makes sense. You're not embarrassing the kid doing it on the ice, right? If I'm pulling the goal, not saying that. There's 18 minutes left in this period. It's a 20-minute period. He's already let it. Okay, no, you got to do it. Okay, but I think communication is the big thing. You got to talk to the kid after you pull him, and they say they must do is explain to the goalie why they are being pulled. Okay, I get the call. If you guys don't tell them, I get it. They pulled my goalie. They pulled him, and they didn't tell him why. How am I supposed to answer? I wasn't there. And I gotta bash you guys, right? So just explain to your goalie, even if it's honesty. I have a Joe Madden quote in my office. You're honest with them, okay? They might not like you for that day, but they're gonna respect you. But if you lie to them and you give them some bullshit excuse, in the long run they're gonna outsmart you. What do I say to a goalie before a game? Anybody? What would you say to your goalie before a game? Anybody? Except Dion. That doesn't have a goalie coach. Nobody? I can't go to Fred's just an assistant coach.
Somebody just said nothing.
Nothing, okay? So nobody, you guys just don't, it's like, this guy should know what he's doing, or I'm scared of him, I'm not going to talk to him. Is that kind of our approach?
Basically, the approach we take is there's a pre-established, defined objectives that we want the goalie to focus on, so we just review with the goalie, what are the 2 objectives you're focusing on today?
And I like that. 2 things. I was going to do with Matias last game, I was going to give him a lot of pro NHL guys put letters on their end of their stick to reminders, okay? Well, that can be with your shoulder, it can be shoulder checks. So with Mark Gravenbauer, my text got boring. It's almost the same text before every game. It was breathe, shoulder checks, be set, and depth. It was the same thing every 4 games. Well, he got to the point where when he wasn't in depth, he'd hear my voice in his head, oh God, I gotta come out a little bit. But it's, just give them 2 little goals. They don't have to be fancy words, like shoulder checks. That's just awareness. Know what's going on the ice. Be set. Okay? So, but you're showing him you care. You're not just leaving him there. And we always said we want to try to bring our major junior coaches to goalie practices, right? Just to show him, like, he's not an alien. You can deal with him too, right? Didn't Louis used to bring you out to goalie practices? And he builds a relationship with you. You know, sometimes Go with the goalie coach down there. Well, sometimes skate around. Just, hey, you guys, how's it going down here? Geez, okay, Danny's doing a good job. And, oh my God, the coach actually like watched what the heck we were doing as goalies. Didn't cost you anything to skate down there and say hello. So I would say just keep it simple. But maybe it's you're playing a team. Number 11 there, Bobby Dupuis, really good. He's one of their best players. You know him, not going to pass the puck, he's going to shoot. Talk to him about that. Don't go, well, I knew Bobby was going to shoot every time, you know, I'm the goalie, know this. What do I say after a good, bad game? Communication. Be honest with them, okay? But I like what she said. I asked them, what were you thinking? Because maybe, like Mark will tell me, well, he was coming down the wing, I thought my D had the other guy, that's why I played a little bit more out to cut the angle. I was going to force him to make the pass, thinking he was going to... Wow, that's a good read. The D didn't do his job. Okay? I know you guys, the Adam kid's going to... I don't think he'll come up with that answer, but he might tell you, I couldn't see, Johnny was in the way. Well, was Johnny really in the way, or was that an excuse? Well, maybe it's going to help you. Geez, I need that Johnny can't be in the way for my goalie to see him. They're not aliens. You got to talk to them. We're not weird. What was the word she used? We're
Humans?
Yeah, I know.
Different.
So, any questions? I know I told Roland 45 minutes. I'm at an hour. So, I gave you guys a handout. There's some good stuff in yellow that I've highlighted. If you have questions, my card is there. You can always reach me. Was there anything specific? I know we talked about how video helps.
To answer that question, your last slide, or before that one, he had his telephone, and he's showing a kid, right? Because, you know, Dave talked a lot about his major junior kids, and I keep saying, okay, how can we do that, or how can we take it down to our level? Novice, Adam, Pee-wee, Bantam, right? It's always that, because he coaches at that level, which is good and all that, but how can we, so a lot of that stuff that was talked about today, we can use it. How can we use it now? You know, how can we use it? How many here have a goalie specialist on their team?
I want to meet this specialist. No,
well, lucky you know, somebody that's focusing on goal. There was, what, 4 or 5? The rest you don't, right? Does that mean you don't appoint anybody? I don't agree. I think somebody should be appointed to the goalie, right? And even if it's just the few points that he's talking about, how you feeling? What was going through your head? Adam Kidd can tell you. You know, how did you see that one? You might not have the answer for him because you're not a specialist, but at least he'll be able to tell you, right? Then after that you can communicate. It has nothing to do with the X and O's, and I know we're going to talk about that later. So I really like that, like the visual part. You know, when I was coaching him way back in high school in 1992, I remember, like, it was yesterday, I kept saying to my assistant coach, we don't have the same kids we used to. I kept saying that, that's in 92. Imagine in 2018, 19, right? We do not have the same kids that we used to. And thank God we don't have the same kids we used to have, right? My mom and dad used to go to church with a horse and buggy. They don't go to church with a horse and buggy anymore, right? We don't do that. Kids change. They learn a different way. A lot of visual. We all have phones. We can all that. Especially for goalies. I find it's so easy to film them in a practice and show them. Where players, it's bigger, it's a lot more players. Goalies, you can really isolate. You know, you can really, and they can visualize. They can see.
I've done it every year. My best one was an iPhone Plus because of the screen. I could not bring my big iPad anymore. I have coach's eye on it. If I see something with a kid, the visual can't lie. It doesn't have to be a 3-minute clip of your game. It's a movement. I'm not going to do a demo, but if, like I say,
Coach's Eye is a good app. There's several apps out there. It's easy. They learn a lot that way, right? So a lot of the points that she was mentioning in her video, and Dave mentioned all that, it's a lot of stuff you can take and use, but obviously it's going to be a different language, and we might not be as complicated. Instead of having 4 things to tell his goalies before the game, you might go down to 2. You know, keywords, stuff like that you can use. He said breathe. We can do that too with our goalie, right? We find what we need to do in the keywords.
Just chill. I tell them, because I'm a young
like
guy, I can use the term chill, so I go to him, just chill, man. Just relax. Relax. You're just like, whew. And that's where their brains are going 100 miles an hour.
At the major junior level, sometimes he has to go to his kid, or his goalies, and say, just stop the puck. right? Just stop the puck. Because sometimes we get too technical, we get too
Worry about
robotic.
everything else.
We get too, just stop the puck. Organized chaos that I call it. We'll talk about it in my presentation later on organized chaos for goalies sometimes, because we have this conversation sometimes. We're too robotic, you know? Sometimes just, I don't know, stop it with your teeth if you have to, right? At one point, we need to find a way, right, to stop the puck. So that kind of stuff is stuff that we can use, and we don't have to be a specialist to recognize that, right? But I like it a lot when they're saying, instead of you telling the kid, you ask the kid how you feel. What can we do better? How could he have stopped that one? You know, what was going through your head with that?
And I do it with the little Timbits guys are the best ones. They'll give you funny answers too, but you ask them a lot, like I'll go, okay, well, what would you do? How would you? And they'll give you the craziest idea, and then, well, what happens if you try to use your stick on that? And they'll look at you, okay, and then they make 9 saves with their stick, and they look at you and go, geez, okay. Well, I kind of made him figure out his own, give him a chance to use his brain, and then, oh, now we've replaced the solution in his brain was to use his stick. So I keep asking him questions all the time.
When to pull a goalie, what you say when you pull the goalie. How do you build his self-esteem back up? How do you all those questions, a lot of times they can tell you a lot instead of us have to tell them that, right? And it's the thing about caring. If you care, it'll take you a long ways. A lot of times us coaches, goaltending, we don't want to deal with that. I still think that we need to appoint somebody that's responsible for the goalie, right? Make sure he's in a good frame of mind and all that good stuff.
Hey, thank you very much.
Any questions?
If you got questions,
What's that?
you can hit me up on, my cards are there. Much rather talk to you guys than do work. Uh-oh. Yep.
I was sure Winkip was gonna squat the fight when he said that.
Really?
Sure, I was just waiting for Winkip, the country club.
Well, maybe maybe there's 4 different psychological things to it, right? So.
Perfect timing. We're done with Dave, so thanks a lot, Dave.
Who's next?
Charlie's.
Or Serge?
Yeah, Serge's gonna be next, yeah. So we're done. Actually, we're done with Dave's presentations. By the way, I told him about the F schedule.
Does anyone have a bottle of vodka I could really use a drink? They send out a schedule, we're doing for 200 teams, and you get a mom that responds, my son has a birthday party that day. Could you reschedule the tournament to another weekend? No, you gotta see some of these emails. So I'm all ready to snap right now. Welcome, guys. On behalf of our group, I want to say thank you for joining us this spring. Un gros merci aux entraîneurs. Je sais qu'on a beaucoup d'entraîneurs francophones ici avec nous. Je sais que peut-être les présentations sont en anglais. Pour moi, c'est très important qu'on ait un programme bilingue. Surtout comme ancien coach des Aigles Bleus, puis Serge, ce qui est Serge ici. On est 2 anciens coachs